Second chapter, text number 1. Sanjay Uvacha Tam Tata Kripaya Vishtam Ashrupurnapulekshanam Vishidantam Idam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudana. Sanjay Uvacha, Sanjay said, Tam unto Arjuna, Tata thus Kripaya by compassion, Avishtam overwhelmed, Ashrupurna Akula full of tears, Ikshanam eyes, Vishidantam lamenting, Idam these, Vakyam words, Uvacha said, Madhusudana, the killer of Madhu. Sanjay said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana Krishna spoke the following words. Purport: material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress. The gross material body, one who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit, soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Shri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. Text 2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupastitam Anarya Jushtam Aswargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Kutaha, wherefrom, Tva unto you, Kashmalam dirtiness, Idam this lamentation, Vishame in this hour of crisis. Samupastitam arrived, Anarya persons who do not know the value of life, Jushtam practiced by Aswargyam, which does not lead to higher planets, Akirti infamy, Karam the cause of Arjuna, O Arjuna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets but to infamy. Purport: Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate in the Absolute Truth. The Absolute Truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11, this conception of the Absolute Truth is explained thus: Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. The Absolute Truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the Absolute Truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the Absolute Truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. These three divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is a preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature, may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the Absolute Truth. The student who has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to the knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the Absolute Truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Therefore, the Bhaktas, or the Transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagavan feature of the Absolute Truth are the topmost Transcendentalists. Although all students who are engaged in the study of the Absolute Truth are engaged in the same subject matter, The sunshine, the sun disk, and the internal affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another, and yet the students of three different phases are not in the same category. The Sanskrit word Bhagavan is explained by the great authority Parashara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva, the supreme personality of Godhead, who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very much detached. But no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayan, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord or Bhagavan, known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because no one can excel him. He is the supreme person and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. In the Bhagavatam also there is a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Krishna is described as the original Personality of Godhead, from whom many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Ete chamsa kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indra Rivyakulam Lokam Hridayanti Yuge Yuge. All the lists of the incarnations of the Godhead submitted here with either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 3rd chapter, 28th verse. Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, the source of both the Super Soul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with the words Kutaha, where from? Such impurities were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know the aim of life is realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it even give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsman. Text 3. Klaibyam masmagamapartha naitat tvayupapadyate shudram hrudaya dorbalyam tyakto tishta parantapa. Klaibyam, impotence, masma, do not, gamaha, take to, partha, O son of Pritha, na, never, etat, this, tvai, unto you, upapadyate is befitting, shudram, petty, hridaya, of the heart, dorbalyam, weakness, tyaktva, giving up, uttishta, get up, paramtapa, O chastiser of the enemies. Translation: O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. Purport: Arjuna was addressed as the son of Pritha, who happened to be the sister of Krishna's father Vasudeva. Therefore, Arjuna had a blood relationship with Krishna. If the son of a Kshatriya declines to fight, he is a Kshatriya in name only. And if the son of a Brahmana acts impiously, he is a Brahmana in name only. Such Kshatriyas and Brahmanas are unworthy sons of their fathers. Therefore, Krishna did not want Arjuna to become an unworthy son of a Kshatriya. Arjuna was the most intimate friend of Krishna, and Krishna was directly guiding him on the chariot. But in spite of all these credits, if Arjuna abandoned the battle, he would be committing an infamous act. Therefore, Krishna said that such an attitude in Arjuna did not fit his personality. Arjuna might argue that he would give up the battle on the grounds of his magnanimous attitude for the most respectable Bhishma and his relatives. But Krishna considered that sort of magnanimity mere weakness of heart. Such false magnanimity was not approved by any authority. Therefore, such magnanimity or so called non-violence should be given up by persons like Arjuna under the direct guidance of Krishna. Text number 4. Arjuna Vacha Katam Bhishmam Aham Sanke Drodam Cha Madhusudana Ishuvi Pratiyotsyami Puja Ravari Sudana. Arjuna Vacha, Arjuna said, Katam, how Bhishma, Aham, I, Sanke in the fight, Drona, Cha also, Madhusudana, O killer of Madhu, Ishubi with arrows, Pratiyotsyami shall contract, Pujar, how, those who are worshipable, Arisudana, O killer of the enemies. Translation. Arjuna said, O killer of the enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I contract with armies in battle men like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship? Purport. Respectable superiors like Bhishma and the grandfather and Dronacharya the teacher are always worshipable. Even if they attack, they should not be counter-attacked. It is general etiquette that superiors are not to be offered even a verbal fight. Even if they are sometimes harsh in behavior, they should not be harshly treated. Then how is it possible for Arjuna to counteract them? Would Krishna ever attack his own grandfather Ugrasena or his teacher Sandipani Muni? These were some of the arguments offered by Arjuna to Krishna. Text number 5. Guru nahatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum vaikshyapi haloke hatvartha kamam stu guru nihaiva bunji yabhoga rudira pradigdan. Guru, the superiors, ahatva, not killing, he certainly, mahanubhavan, great souls, shreya, it is better, bhoktum, to enjoy life, bhaikshyam, by begging, api, even, iha, in this life, loke, in this world, hatva, killing, artha, gain, kaman, desiring, too, but, gurun, superiors, iha, in this world, eva, certainly, bunjiya, one has to enjoy, bhogan, enjoyable things, rudira, blood, pradigdan, tainted with. It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring to fight, desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. Purport. According to scriptural codes, a teacher who engages in an abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. Bhishma and Drona were obliged to take the side of Duryodhana because of his financial assistance, although they should not have accepted such a position simply on financial considerations. Under the circumstances, they have lost the respectability of teachers. But Arjuna thinks that nevertheless they remain his superiors, and therefore to enjoy material profits after killing them would mean to enjoy spoils tainted with blood. Text 6. Nachaitad vidvan kataranno gariyo yadva jayema yadiva no jayeyu yaneva hatva na jijivishamas te avastita pramuke dhartarashtra. Na nor cha also etad this vidmaha, do we know, katarat, which, naha, for us, gariya, better, yatva, whether, jayema, we may conquer, yadi, if, va, or, naha, us, jayeyu, they conquer, yan, those who, eva, certainly, hatva, by killing, na, never, jijivishamaha, we would want to live, they, all of them, avastita, are situated, pramuke, in the front, dhartarashtra, the sons of Dhritarashtra. Translation. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we killed the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live, yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. Purport. Arjuna did not know whether he should fight and risk unnecessary violence, although fighting is a duty of the Kshatriya, or whether he should refrain and live by begging. If he did not conquer the enemy, begging would be his only means of subsistence, nor was there certainty of victory because either side might emerge victorious. Even if victory had awaited them and their cause was justified, still if the sons of the Dhritarashtra died in the battle, it would be very difficult to live in their absence. Under the circumstances, that would be another kind of defeat for them. All these considerations by Arjuna definitely proved that not only was he a great devotee of the Lord, but he was also highly enlightened and had complete control over his mind and senses. His desire to live by begging, although he was born in the royal household, is another sign of detachment. He was truly virtuous as his qualities combined with his faith in the words of instructions of Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. It is concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge, and without knowledge and devotion, there is no chance of liberation. Arjuna was competent in all these attributes, over and above his enormous attributes in his material relationships. Text 7. Karpanya dosho apahata svabhava prichhami tvam dharma samudha cheta yashreyasyan nishchitam brohitam tanme shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. Karpanya of miserliness, dosha by the weakness, upahata being afflicted, Swabhava characteristics, Prichami I am asking, Tvam unto you, Dharma religion, Samuda bewildered, Chetaha in heart, yet what? Shreya all good, Syat may be, Nishitam confidently, Bruhit tell that may unto me, Shishya disciple, Te your, Aham I am, Shadi just instruct, Mam may, Tvam unto you, Prapannam surrendered. I am confused about my duty and I have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Purport. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step, there is perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life, which happen without desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that the perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom therefore advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who is in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not therefore remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. Who is the man in material perplexities? It is who does not understand the problems of life. In the Brihad Aranyak Upanishad, the perplexed man is described as follows. Yova etat aksharam gargi avivitvasma lokat praiti sakripanaha. He is a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human being and who thus quits this world like the cats and dogs without understanding the science of self-realization. This human form of life is a most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. On the other hand, there is the Brahmana, he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life. Ya etat aksharam gargi viditvasma lokat praitisa brahmana. The Kripanas or miserly persons waste their time in being overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc. in the material conception of life. One is often attached to family life, namely to wife, children, other members, on the basis of the skin disease. The Kripana thinks that he is able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripana thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals, who take care of children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand his affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the causes of his perplexities. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, still on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge the duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definite solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between master and the disciple are serious. And now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself. And yet, foolish mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. There is no difference between Krishna's within and without. And one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. Text number 8. Nahi prapashyami mamanupashyat yashokamuchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhuma vasapatnam riddham rajyam suranam apichadipatyam. Now, do not, he certainly, prapashyami, I see, mama my, apanudyat, can drive away, yet that which shokam, lamentation, uchoshanam, drying up, indriyanam, of the senses, avapya, achieving, bhumau, on the earth, asapatnam, without rival, riddham, prosperous, rajyam, kingdom, suranam, of the demigods, api, even cha, also adipatyam, supremacy. Translation: I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Purport: although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on the knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master, Lord Sri Krishna. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence. And it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Krishna. Academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc. are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can be given only by a spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problems of life. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is a real spiritual master. Kiva vipra kibanyasi shudra kene naya ei Krishna tattva veta sei guru haya. It does not matter whether a person is a Vipra, learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is a master in the science of Krishna, he is a perfect and bona fide spiritual master. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 8, chapter 128 verse. So, without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is also said in the Vedic literatures, Shat karma nipuno vipra mantra tantra visharada avaishnavo gurur nasyad vaishnava swapacho guruhu. A scholarly Brahmana, expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge, he is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava or expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But a person born in a family of a lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava or Krishna conscious. Padma Purana. The problems of material existence, birth, old age, disease and death, cannot be counteracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. In many parts of the world, there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed. Yet the problems of material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways, but they can achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which constitute the science of Krishna. Though the bona fide representative of Krishna, the man in Krishna consciousness. If economic development and material comforts could drive away one's lamentations for family, social, national, or international inabilities, then Arjuna would not have said that even an unrivaled kingdom on earth or supremacy like that of the demigods in the heavenly planets would be unable to drive away his lamentations. He sought therefore refuge in Krishna consciousness, and that is the right path for peace and harmony. Economic development or supremacy over the world can be finished at any moment by the cataclysms of material nature. Even elevation into higher planetary situation, as men are now seeking them on the moon planet, can also be finished at one stroke. Bhagavad Gita confirms this. Kshine punye martyalokam vishanti When the results of the pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness to the lowest status of life. Many politicians of the world have fallen down in that way. Such downfalls only constitute more causes for lamentation. Therefore, if we want to curb lamentation for good, then we have to take shelter of Krishna, as Arjuna is seeking to do. So Arjuna asked Krishna to solve his problem definitely, and that is the way of Krishna consciousness. Text number 9. Sanjay Uvacha Evamukva Rishikesham Gudakesha Parantapa Nayotsaiti Govindam Uktva Tushnim Babuvaha. Sanjay Uvacha, Sanjay said, Evam thus Uktva, speaking, Rishikesham unto Krishna, the master of senses, Gudakesha, Arjuna, the master of curbing ignorance, Paramtapa, the chastisers of the enemies, Nayotse, I shall not fight, Iti, thus Govindam unto Krishna, the giver of pleasure to the senses, Uktva, saying, Tushnim, silent, Babuva, became Ha, certainly. Sanjay said, having spoken thus, Arjuna, chastisers of enemies, told Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight, and fell silent. Purport. Dhritarashtra must have been very glad to understand that Arjuna was not going to fight and was instead leaving the battlefield for the begging profession. But Sanjay disappointed him again in relating that Arjuna was competent to kill his enemies, Parantapa. Although Arjuna was for the time being overwhelmed with false grief due to family affection, he surrendered unto Krishna, the supreme spiritual master, as a disciple. This indicated that he would soon be free from the false lamentation resulting from family affection and would be enlightened with perfect knowledge of self-realization or Krishna consciousness and would then surely fight. Thus Dhritarashtra's joy would be frustrated since Arjuna would be enlightened by Krishna and would fight to the end. Text 10. Tam uvacha Rishikesha prahasan iva bharata senayor madhye vishidantam idam vacha. Tam, unto him, Uvacha said, Rishikesha, the master of the senses, Krishna, prahasan, smiling, Eva, like that, Bharata, or Dhritarashtra, descendant of Bharata, Senayo, of the armies, Ubhayo, of both parties, Madhye, between, Vishidantam, unto the lamenting one, Idam, the following, Vachaha, words. Translation. O descendant of Bharata, at that time Krishna, smiling in the midst of both the armies, spoke the following words to the grief-stricken Arjuna. Purport. The talk was going on between intimate friends, namely Rishikesha and the Gudakesha. As friends, both of them were on the same level, but one of them voluntarily became a student of the other. Krishna was smiling because a friend had chosen to become a disciple. As Lord of all, he is always in the superior position as the master of everyone. And yet the Lord agrees to be a friend, a son, or a lover for a devotee who wants him in such a role. But when he was accepted as his master, he at once assumed the role and talked with the disciple like the master, with gravity, as it is required. It appears that the talk between the master and disciple was openly exchanged in the presence of both armies, so that all were benefited. So the talks of Bhagavad Gita are not for any particular person, society, or community, but they are for all, and friends or enemies are equally entitled to hear them. Text 11. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyananvashocastvam Pragnya Vadamsha Bhasase Gatasu Nagatasumscha Nanu Shochanti Pandita. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, Ashocyan, not worthy of lamentation, Anvasocha, you are lamenting. Tvam, you, Pragnavada, learned, talks, Cha also, Bhashase, speaking, Gata, lost, Asoon, life, Agata, not past, Asoon, life, Cha also, na, never, Anusochanti, lament, Pandita, the learned. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Purport. The Lord at once took the position of the teacher and chastised the student, calling him indirectly a fool. The Lord said, you are talking like a learned man, but you do not know that one who is learned, one who knows what is body and what is soul, does not lament for any stage of the body, neither in the living nor in the dead condition. As explained in later chapters, it will be clear that knowledge means to know matter and spirit and the controller of both. Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology. But he did not know that the knowledge of matter, soul, and supreme is even more important than religious formularies. And because he was lacking in that knowledge, he should not have posed himself as a very learned man. As he did not happen to be a very learned man, he was consequently lamenting for something which was unworthy of lamentation. The body is born and is destined to be vanquished today or tomorrow. Therefore, the body is not as important as the soul. One who knows this is actually learned, and for him there is no cause for lamentation, regardless of the condition of the material body. Text 12. Natvevaham jatunasham natvam neme janadipa nachaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayam atapparam. Na never, tu but, eva certainly, aham I, jatu at any time, na did not, asam exist, na not, tvam you, na not, ime all this, janadipa kings, na never, cha also, eva certainly, na not, bhavishyamaha shall exist, sarve vayam all of us, ataparam the hereafter. Translation. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Purport. In the Vedas, in the Kathopanishad, as well as in the Shvetashvara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities in terms of different situations according to the individual work and reaction of work. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also by his plenary portions alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see within and without the Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman tamatmastam ye anupashyanti dhiras tesham shanti shashwati netaresham. Kathopanishad, second volume, second chapter, 13th verse. The same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned but factually have but a poor fund of knowledge. The Lord says clearly that he himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled in the battlefield are eternally individual beings, and that the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their condition and their liberated situations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme individual person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. Their individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone. The Mayavadi theory that after liberation the individual soul separated by the covering of Maya or illusion will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the Supreme Authority. Nor is the theory that we only think of the individuality in the conditioned state supported herein. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as it is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. This statement of Krishna is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion. If individuality were not a fact, then Krishna would not have stressed it so much even for the future. The Mayavadi may argue that individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Even accepting the argument that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms his individuality in the past and confirms his individuality in the future also. He has confirmed his individuality in many ways, and impersonal Brahman has been declared to be subordinate to him. Krishna has maintained spiritual individuality all along. If he is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture. A common man with all the four defects of human frailty is unable to teach that which is worth hearing. The Gita is above such literature. No mundane book compares with the Bhagavad Gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, the Gita loses all importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional and that it refers to the body. But previous to this verse, such a bodily condition is already condemned. After condemning the bodily conception of living entities, how was it possible for Krishna to place a conventional proposition on the body again? Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed by great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja and others. It is clearly mentioned that in many places in the Gita that his spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees of the Lord, and those who are envious of the Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead have no bona fide access to the great literature. The non-devotee's approach to the teachings of Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. One cannot have a taste of honey unless one opens the bottle. Similarly, the mysticism of the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by the devotees, and no one else can taste it, as it is stated in the 4th chapter of the book. nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. Therefore, Mayavadi explanation of the Gita is a most misleading presentation of the whole truth. Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentations made by the Mayavadis and warns that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. If individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and the Lord is an eternal fact, and it is confirmed by the Vedas as above mentioned.